pen.
Need a pen? Hey guys, we're going to review the 5 love language books, The Secret to Love That Lasts. And so, since me and Rob are only in this thing, was it 3 months? For going on 4 months? We're gonna, and I use this book a lot, um, to kind of figure out things that how we can best communicate, right? Because communication is number one. Creates trust and intimacy and all the things. So we're gonna just talk about the first 3 chapters, or we just yeah. So before we act, and then we'll just continue this, and you guys can come with us. So, first chapter called "What Happens to Love After the Wedding." Did you have any notes?
Well, I didn't get a chance to really take notes. I guess maybe we can. Did you want to read some and then let that kind of dictate the conversation?
Sure. So, one of the things that stand out the most in chapter 1 is how he, kind of explains how the 5 love languages plays a part in helping you communicate with one another, right? So, the story of him meeting the man on the airplane, and the man telling him about his 3 wives and what was going on and why he was having such trouble showing, the love and how he never changed, but his wives did, and how he ultimately failed at those 3 marriages.
Yeah.
And all because he wasn't in tune with their love language.
Their love tank was empty.
The love tank was
empty. and they were speaking different love languages.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't aware of that.
What I find interesting is how they were okay before they got married, but it kicked in once they were married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, he's like, what changed? I didn't change.
They feel like they didn't change, but I think probably they did.
You think he changed
He
too?
might have.
Hmm.
He might have.
But he didn't fall out of love. It's his wives that fell out of love with him. Now, is it kind of interesting that maybe women expect more once they get married, and men kind of don't? They just, it is what it is. You are however you are. When I marry you, I just expect that to stay the same.
Well, the presenting and the pursuing probably changes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once you're married,
yeah,
you don't really have to pursue, so to speak.
And I think that's not true.
Well, I'm just saying in general.
Yeah. I think that, the expectations, they do change. I think women do expect things to change and men don't. When I hear men complaining about their wives, it's because something has changed that they did not like. Either she got bigger or she stopped just loving him the way she used to, or
I think the other thing is, unless they shacked up together, all of a sudden now they were living in separate households, and they were only meeting on certain occasions.
Yeah.
And they were only seeing
the representation,
the best side of each of themselves.
Yeah.
Now we got to wake up to morning breath, and people in bad moods, and and sometimes we don't always present our best selves.
This is true.
And so that can be challenging.
Yeah, I know I miss Rob when he's not here, but I wonder sometimes if he was here all the time.
Yeah.
Would it be the same?
And I think about that sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think, because I know you want me to get over here as quick as I can, and sometimes I think it's just good for you to have some alone time.
And I think about that too. I said, sometimes I just need the me time because I'm an introvert.
I am too.
So, what two introverts go do?
See, but on that, I really don't think you're an introvert, though. I do.
What? How? How not?
Just seems like you're so outgoing, always bubbly, always happy.
Oh, but that's because I've had my alone time to recharge. Now, see me when I've had no time to recharge, no time to be alone, no time to get it together. Okay, then I'm probably going to retreat quickly.
Okay.
And I think we would have to like get to know each other and realize that that's okay. That's okay to let the other person have their time alone, and then they come out, you know, the person you would want to be around. Okay, what else do you remember from? Because we should have been did this, but we read this a couple weeks ago.
I read
So
it
we
before,
have
I
to
actually read it
remember
before
this.
you did. And
See, he's always got to be competing.
Oh,
Nobody's competing.
I'm not competing, but for the fact that I forgot.
It was long ago.
And I forgot a lot of this stuff I read. I actually went to the meat of the book, which is chapter 4. I learned some big things. But let's go to chapter 2. Let's go ahead and just go into chapter 2.
Okay, let's do that. We'll just pick something
Yeah.
out of it. Here we go. Keeping the love tank.
Tank full.
What do we remember from this chapter?
Um,
These are short chapters,
Yeah.
by the way. So, at least the first 3 are. So,
4 is a little bit longer.
yeah.
I think even the second paragraph of this is the human instinct that we all really seek to be loved.
Yeah, he goes on to talk about what a love tank is and what it takes to keep it full and realizing when it's not full.
People are unhappy.
Yeah, and realizing what you need to keep it full for yourself. You know, you can't really depend always on somebody else to do that for you. Right? We should come not 50%. I think we should come 100%.
Right,
You should already be whole and complete. No one should be completing you.
I think the
It
50,
should just
50
supplement you.
the
maybe.
50-50 that people have talked about so long is kind of an old school concept that really doesn't work. There may be times, like you said, a person has to give 70 or 80% or 100%. So, for sure.
There's some really good things in these chapters. We're just giving you the highlights because you should get the book and read it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then leave in the comments below what you found most interesting in those chapters. Let's talk about chapter 3, falling in love.
All right.
I got a lot of notes in that one. Okay. Do you want to go first?
Well, the example that he starts off with Rachel that comes into his office, at the beginning. She's been looking for a guy for, a long time, and she meets a guy, and he's everything that she says that she wanted. This is the one. They're going to get married. And
After only, a couple
weeks? Even shorter than us.
Yeah, that reminds me of my first marriage. I got married only after 3 months. Oh my God, worst decision ever.
But
I mean, some people it works for them.
Yeah, well.
Just make sure it's who God said you're supposed to be with. Okay.
And he kind of goes over the fact that falling in love takes us kind of out of our common sense era, because there were a lot of red flags about this guy she fell in love with.
Yeah.
That she just totally ignored.
Anything else? Need to get my glasses because at some point I can't see.
I like where he,
I like these. Walmart's. What is it? Dollar Tree.
Dollar
special?
Tree special. $1.25 everything.
There we go. Put this book up here. Yeah. What else did you have? So me and Rob are at a different place in our life. This book is mostly for people who are already married, but it's really good to go over before you get married. And we're also at a different stage in our life where we're not going into this to start a family. We've already had families. We've already been married. Our kids are grown and gone, and it's just us. So I think it's easier, but still, there's basic building blocks that you need, and in some aspects, it may be harder because we've already developed so many habits and routines
We're
already.
both used to living alone
Yeah.
and being very independent on ourselves
Yes.
and really kind of catering to our own needs,
Yeah.
our own routine, so to speak.
Yeah, and finding ways to kind of incorporate each other once the reality sets in. We're out of that euphoric falling in love after 2 years or whatever. How to kind of, and this is the part of the chapter 3 that I highlighted the most. It's called When Reality Intrudes. Okay? It's, when you're welcome to the real world of marriage, where all the little things start to get on your nerves. And, some of us are really particular, i.e. me, about, how you like certain ways. But when you love someone, you have to be intentional about giving grace. We give grace to strangers because they don't live with us, but giving grace to the person you love the most, and try to making those little things not become bigger than they are, right? Or where some people can start an argument because you can't choose where you want to eat.
Right.
Bills, in-laws, jobs, and children. It's where routine and resentment can silently eat away at the love we once had. In this world, a look can hurt and a word can crush.
Wow. Yeah.
Scary, huh?
Yeah, very scary.
Make you go, what? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Let's stay in the
Euphoric area.
world of dating forever. Why are we getting married? This is what we have to look forward to. But, I don't think that has to happen to everybody. Especially if you're intentional and focused and do the work of not letting the marriage think the marriage is just going to run itself. It's just going to become one of your routines.
Because that's what a lot of people that are already married, when I was sharing with other people about getting married, I mean, guys want to slap me up the head, said, are you crazy? Why would you want to do that?
They wouldn't want to marry me.
I'm trying to get rid of my wife, or, my wife has taken half of my retirement. Why would you want to,
Yeah.
And, I think you have to make an effort to try to keep the flame going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anything that you take for granted, all of a sudden can become a routine.
Yeah.
And, I was married for quite a number of years, and hindsight looking back, that basically had happened. I was in my routine. I'm looking at TV downstairs in the living room. The other partner's looking at TV upstairs in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really communicate very well.
Yeah.
And, at that time, a lot of the focus was on the kids.
Absolutely.
So when the
kids can drain you.
So when the focus is on the kids,
Yeah.
the two people don't have to really deal with their own relationship because they're just
Absolutely.
working for the kids.
And they use that as an excuse to not do the work.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have kids, so we can't use that excuse
Right.
unless no, you're not.
No kids coming out of here, okay?
All right.
Don't even ask. The author says the problem was faulty information. The idea that in love obsession would last forever.
Ever, yeah.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Because people who are in love lose interest in other pursuits.
Yeah.
And I think Robert is good at making sure he doesn't, stop doing the things that he loved to do before. And also that we both share an interest in the homeless ministry that we've been doing for almost 2 years. Before we started dating, it's now our 2-year anniversary that we just celebrated with that. So we have a lot of things still in common, and being older in this, some of the things we love to travel, and I wasn't doing too much outside of my kids. Yeah, we go to movies every Tuesday, which I love.
But you're a lot more active.
Yeah. And I know I had to pull this one a little bit out of.
I'm active in my routine.
Yeah.
But she's active, spontaneous.
Yeah.
And that was one of the attractions because, it was left up to me. I probably would be in front of the TV looking at Netflix. So,
which we do sometimes.
sometimes.
But he pulls me in his world, and I pull him in mine, and we find a good balance in that. So it's pretty cool.
That is.
What was another thing? He talked about, I met this girl, fell in love and came to me. Oh, when it comes to kind of losing yourself in a relationship, you don't want to do that. This young man says he can't conceive of doing anything to hurt her. My only desire is to make her happy. I would do anything to make her happy. Such obsession gives us the false sense that our egocentric attitudes have been eradicated and we have become sort of a Mother Teresa, willing to give anything for the benefit of our lover. The reason we can do that so freely is that we sincerely believe that our lover feels the same way towards us. We believe that she is committed to meeting our needs, that she loves us as much as we love him and would never do anything to hurt us. And that is that part of that in love thing that we think we would never hurt the other person, but it's just not true. We're kind of humanly made to
make mistakes.
And cater to our own needs first. I mean, at first, it's all about the other person, but as things start to settle into reality, you start going back to me first. And not intentionally wanted to hurt the other person, but it's just what happens. So
from the podcast and some of these, and from reading this book, I'm really learning that love is a choice, and it does take work, and I think that's why a lot of marriages just fail, because people don't want to put in the time and the work, and it takes an effort. But you've got to look, two individuals coming together for one purpose. Yeah. It's not an easy task.
No. And it's not that we're insincere about how we feel. It's just unrealistic. Our minds haven't melded together, or our emotions mingled only briefly in the obsession phase. But reality starts to separate it. And we have to, the author says, we have to begin the hard work of learning to love each other without the euphoria of in love.
Right.
If in love means that only two Some couples believe that the end of the in love experience means they only have two options: resign themselves to a life of misery
Well,
with their spouse or jump ship and try again.
well,
And in this generation, a lot of people just like to jump ship
yeah,
and not realizing that you're just jumping into the same shit, different color.
yeah.
Right? So purpose of really reading this book is to find out how to not keep jumping from ship to ship. So the last section of this, because I don't really want to make it too long. Do you have any other notes, babe? I know. Okay. Well, last of my notes is we gotta realize that in love, experience for what it is, temporary high, and now we gotta pursue real love. The kind of love is emotional in nature, but not obsessive. Unites reason with emotion. It involves an act of will and requires discipline. And it recognizes the need for personal growth. I need to be loved by someone who chooses to love me, who sees in me something worth loving.
Oh, wow. Isn't that sweet?
That's kind of what you said earlier about choosing.
Yeah.
And you want to choose someone who sees you, right? Who sees the value in you. And thank God I found that person. I think so.
And I think so also.
So love cannot begin until the in love experience has run its course. I thought that was interesting. Because I would want to start the real love experience as soon as possible. But the excessive part is kind of fun too.
Yeah.
But I guess at least having the reality that it's coming and you need to be prepared for it. That kind of love begins with an attitude. Then the one who chooses to love will find appropriate ways to express that decision. That's what this book is all about, how we meet each other's deep emotional need to feel loved. So, not making it too long, but you have any final thoughts?
Nope.
Yeah. So, get the book, 5 Love Languages, and we'll keep reading. I think we'll read Chapter 4. It starts to begin with going into what each love language is. So we'll go chapter by chapter. This is just the intro. So the first one we'll go over is words of affirmation.
Good chapter.
Yeah, which is one of my least favorite.
I think it's
one of my hardest ones. And probably one of his top ones.
Yeah, I can do.
He hasn't taken a test. I have, but I can already tell that's probably one of his top ones.
And I think for me, to you though, it's one of your second love languages.
You think so? I think it changes as your situation changes. But when I took the test, being single,
words of affirmation. Oh wow. I'm gonna quit it.
And it was good. No, I think for most men, they like physical touch is probably their number one, and then words of affirmation. But for women, it can vary from gifts to
acts of service.
And then there's what's the other one? Quality time. Yeah. So those are the 5 that we're gonna go over, and thank you for joining us.
Alrighty, we'll see you next time.
Bye.